Call of Duty Black Ops 1 is probably the most highly praised Call of Duty campaign, along with other classics like Modern Warfare 2, Black Ops 2, and of course Call of Duty World War 2. For me, Black Ops 1 is just my favorite Call of Duty campaign I've ever played. Due to the fact that it was my first ever campaign I played, I can just remember Reznov with his 8 steps to freedom, Hudson telling Mason what the numbers are, the Russian roulette with Woods. Today I'm going to be replaying Black Ops 1 for the first time in 7 years and seeing if Black Ops 1 is truly as good as I and all of us remember, or we're falling victim to nostalgia. I'm not the only one who remembers in 2014, late night, playing factions on Skywars. And if one day your nostalgia gets the better of you, you try and play Minecraft again, go on some Skywars, and it's just full of sweats. If you want to play factions, the servers are just dead. I hate nostalgia. Let's hope Black Ops 1 is just a bit more than nostalgia. Now first you have to pick the difficulty. So since this is just a casual and fun hardest difficulty. We are first introduced to Woods, but what catches my eye is this woman who's dancing by walking in massive strides. Not to my surprise, a security guard comes over and asks her what she's doing, and kicks her out. What did surprise me though is how they seem to think I've drank too much, but luckily Woods has my back and stabs him in the hand as I proceed to no-scope the other guard. In hindsight I might have been a bit irresponsible, but our guard was being extremely rude. I try and grab the bullet I lodged in his face, but I keep missing, unfortunately. The only thing interesting that happened in this mission was every time I went to the car, I kept pressing right click, and it wasn't working. I honestly died around 4 times. If only something told me that I had to hold down the right click. The second mission I found great. The beginning of the mission is much more stealthy, but this turns into combat for the rest of the mission, which I really enjoyed. It made the stealth not get boring and didn't really force you to have the PvP for the whole mission. I also forgot how awesome the Castro section was. It felt like a game where we started at the final few missions. You can really tell how little Treyarch cared about what people thought about their game at this time, which is such a nice change of pace from other campaigns. I also had this magical moment with Woods. He approached me, then I slowly walked closer to him, excited for what's coming next. But then he didn't want to get distracted, so he avoided his eye contact and quickly looked away from me. I didn't really like the cutscene with Dragovich and Castro. It just seemed too much like a generic bad guy. Maybe when it first came out it was fine, but for me it's kind of stagnant compared to the rest of the game I've played so far. Like, why are you saying directly in front of me that you're in a relationship with Castro? Why would you say that? There's no need. If I escape now, then I have some information, which sounds a bit convenient, doesn't it? It just seems like it lays it right into me. Bar that though, it's a great mission, I love it. Now for the part I was most excited for going into this. This has to be one of the greatest ever missions in Call of Duty. I was actually surprised with how long this mission took me. It took me around 50 minutes to complete, but you only realise how long it's been after you've completed it. On Veteran it starts getting a bit harder, which makes the mission so much more satisfying when you actually complete it. You just feel so badass in this mission, and so many more Call of Duties should try and become this. Reznov himself has acted and animated really well, and it's as good as I remember, which makes the immersion so much better. I did find a really weird glitch though, halfway through the mission, where one of the NPCs spazzed out, and his head and everything just went everywhere. You can literally see his head, and it looks so wrong. I found it hilarious personally. Each step feels like its own mission. Secure the Keys is just showing you who Reznov and what the mission is about, building up the climax. Ascend from Darkness was basically the start of the mission, where you go up from the elevator. Rainfire is when you destroyed the guard tower from the slingshots. Skewered the Winged Beast is when you shoot down the helicopter with the grapple gun they give you. Wield the Fist of Iron is when they literally turn you into the Doomsday Layer. Raise Hell is when you storm the prison guard. And finally, Freedom, where Reznov sacrifices himself for you to be free. It's poetic, isn't it? Hopefully the rest of the game continues as good as it is currently, because currently it's a masterpiece. Well, time to stop editing, and time to play some more Black Ops 1 campaign. The next mission or cutscene is really awesome. The mission starts with you looking out on the Pentagon as you travel to meet JFK. When you finally meet JFK, he tells Mason that he's the best around and is relying on him. But the entire time, with the walk up to JFK and when he's there with JFK, Mason is freaking out with numbers around him and hallucinates pulling a pistol out on Kennedy. It's actually a really intense mission. It's much more intense than I remember when I was younger. It's an unbelievably awesome cutscene. I also love this foreshadowing.
We were watching you the whole time.
It's not possible.
I was in the Pentagon.
Please tell him we're here.
I remember when I was younger, I tried to work out who did this, and I seem to think it was this woman who's in the cutscene, because he says it when she looks at you, and it seemed really ominous. It wouldn't be very good if they did that, though. We start out by looking at a rocket, and our aim is quite simple. We have to stop the launch of the rocket. We take out some guards and disguise ourselves with our clothes to blend in. We use a disguise to go on the roof where we start shooting out an explosive bow. After you fail to stop the launch, we have to go and destroy the rocket, which makes you feel really powerful and is really satisfying. But when we have to go in the tunnels, it starts to show that we're on veteran. This was really hard. You had to clear out an entire room, which on its own wasn't bad and was like almost every other mission we've had to do so far. You have to play it quite careful, but it still takes a minute or so to do since we're on veteran and you have to take your time. But after that, you then have to clear out an entire hallway with no autosaves, which again isn't that hard, but they're infinitely spawning. And on veteran, you're a 3-shot kill normally, so the second you run out, you could get a shot a couple of times and you're dead. This mission took me around 25 minutes to complete and is one of the most difficult missions I've done so far. Keyword so far. This mission was a lot weaker than the other ones I've done in my opinion, which really shows how great this game is so far. You walk outside of the tent when you see what's coming from a helicopter, with It Ain't Me by CCR to contrast the dozens of dead bodies. The music stops and the mission starts when a plane wing barely misses you. The mission itself is quite average at the beginning. You just have to shoot a couple of tanks to progress. But then we have to go to the Forbidden Hill, and god damn it, this is one of the hardest sections I've ever seen in the game. This has the same issue of the last mission, where enemies infinitely respawn, which makes veteran so much harder. You start at the top of the hill and have to work your way down. The issues is for one, this is ridiculously hard to get down, since if you peek more than half a second, you're dead. And for two, it doesn't tell you what the hell you're meant to do. I spent around 40 minutes on this mission doing it wrong. I kept walking to the marker after killing everyone, and I was so confused why I wasn't completing the mission, and I just kept dying eventually. And all Woods was telling me to do is light them up, which isn't a good sign to knife this specific barrel. I thought of shooting the barrels, which did nothing, so then I started really getting confused. I only found it because I looked up a video of how to do it. The next 30 minutes I slowly got near the crate and sprinted away. You could barely survive this when you knife the crate, but eventually I did complete this section in an hour and a half. After you complete that easy segment, then the rest of the mission is quite easy. After you complete the mission though, Bowman comes down from a helicopter, very similar to how Woods came down at the start of the mission, and It Ain't Me starts playing again, now with a different meaning. The song is used as a triumph, as the lyrics of It Ain't Me rain down of you, implying you aren't dead yet. It ain't me. This is my favorite mission I hate. The gameplay is ridiculously hard, but I absolutely love the cutscenes and music, which really sold. I don't remember how good this mission was, and this is one of my favorite surprises I've got so far from Black Ops 1. I was checking how many missions are in Black Ops 1, and I've done 5, and there are 15, and we're already 8 minutes into the video, so this is probably going to be a really long video. Back to Black Ops 1. If I was trying to remind people of what this mission was, then I'd probably say an explosive shotgun, because that seems to be what everyone remembers about this mission, even though there is quite a lot of good aspects. This game loves giving you a doom amount of power, which I'm all for. Because of this, it is one of the easier missions, but it isn't exactly easier. It's just easier than that goddamn hill mission. I swear to God, it's been 2 days and I'm still having nightmares about that mission. Also, Reznov comes back, so that's pretty neat. I love how nonsensical Reznov coming back is. He's just conveniently there and doesn't explain how he's there. To do bad writing on purpose and make it make sense is just genius. This mission's great. I don't know why, but the Nova 6 mission I honestly remember as much as I remember the Vorkuta mission going into this. Just something about this mission made me remember it. I don't actually think that this mission is that good either. You play as Hudson, which I don't remember, and I just assumed that you played as Mason in this mission. And this mission really suits Hudson, to be fair. You see his violence a lot more than someone like Mason, and Treyarch do a good job showing that he's a violent guy dedicated to his country. This mission is set on one of the most beautiful maps I've seen, which might be contributing to why I remember this map so well. It's a dark, rainy night on top of some buildings with lightning. It's just got such a unique feel to it compared to 90% of other maps. The Nova 6 guy is pretty interesting. The character speaks to him coldly, but Clark comes across as quite genuine, which makes it so much more interesting and sad. I did actually say I didn't like this mission at the beginning, and it's mainly because of this part here. Like, how more cliche could you get? It's really annoyed me. Like, the best part of this mission has to be the map, though. The goddamn map is so sexy. This is an alright mission. We've got a Reznov mission. In this mission, we see our sexy lad Reznov and how he became what he is today. And it's really compelling. I enjoy that Dragovich is there. It's building up the tension. The beginning of the mission itself isn't really that important. There's a couple of key points, and the main one being that Reznov is really obedient at the beginning. As soon as they get to the Nova 6, though, and Dragovich betrays Reznov and his crew turns, he sees his friend die, and then they get out in a really cliche manner, but I'm not caring about that. You really feel for Reznov, though, in that gas scene. Is kind of terrifying. But then it's just them versus the world. 3 people versus everyone. They're killing all allies, all enemies, and this is a very Reznov-y thing to do. This kind of shows his hatred towards Dragovich as well, and I kind of do love Reznov as a character, so I'm really biased, but this mission is awesome. I love this mission. I also don't remember Dragovich being so intimidating. The next mission's meh. There really isn't much more to say. I mean, I guess the stealth at the beginning is pretty cool. Reznov comes back for another nonsensical adventure, which I think Treyarch are starting to just have fun with, and I quite enjoy it. It's quite funny. It's a cool section underground, which is kind of spooky. I guess a small bit here.
God, I just keep hearing the fucking numbers.
It's a broadcast mission. The numbers are a broadcast. You've been brainwashed.
Mason's acting is actually so good here. I'd recommend watching the entire cutscene. I'll put a link to it in the description of the video. It's probably the best interrogation cutscene I've seen so far. Hudson is so good as the interrogator, and Mason's like sense of betrayal and denial in this is so evident. I just love it. The mission itself was meh. The first mission that we're doing is a boat ride with Sympathy for the Devil playing, and goddammit, I love the music in this game. Fortunate Son and Sympathy for the Devil are absolute bangers. I definitely didn't appreciate this when I was younger, but this song is basically talking about how the devil helped the biggest travesties, like when Kennedy got assassinated. The perspective shows that the devil pushed someone past their barriers to be a real object or a mental devil. It sounds very similar to Mason, to be fair. So take away the brainwash and use the metaphor of the devil that instead. So the devil made Mason do the things that he's done, which has led him to his insanity. Or I'm probably looking at this way too much. At the end, you got kidnapped by Dragovich, and he says he won't mess around this time, though. Even though he completely messes around with you, but that's for a later mission. The next mission starts with some random guy in the jet, flies above the objective, and it turns into a strategy game. But then it warps you down every time that you go into combat as Hudson, which is pretty unique and kind of cool. I really wish the pad was clearer, since it's kind of hard to see what you're actually looking at, but it's really unique though, and it's different. I don't remember this existing. It's quite fun. The funniest part about this mission, though, has to be this jarring aspect here.
Jason Hudson led the attack on Yamato.
I don't know if this is a new mission. I presume it is, because it has like the new thing, that comes at the beginning of the white screen, but it doesn't really do anything new. You're in the same section. It's just now you're in first person for the rest of it. I'll just class this as a new mission, I guess. The more I've played this game, the more I appreciate Hudson. When I was younger, I only ever loved Reznov, and that's probably just because he was Russian and I had a good accent, if I'm honest. But Hudson is so awesome. Hudson's like the Doomslayer of this game. You get to use explosive bow again, which is absolutely banging. You also get to jump off of a cliff, which is cool. Oh yeah, and you also have to run from an avalanche by wingsuiting off a mountain and parachute by a nearby camp and obliterate every enemy in sight. The Doomslayer is absolutely nothing compared to Hudson. The next mission, Mason realizes that he needs to finish his story, so he ignores Hudson yelling at him from the interrogation room and tells you the rest of the story on what happened after you got captured by Dragovich. This is one of the missions I was excited for going into this, and to be fair, it wasn't as good as I remember it. But I remember it being as good as Vorkuta, so it's not exactly got easy shoes to fill. But still, Wood shooting himself just really seems dumb for me. Like, it's a 1 in 6 chance. Surely he could have spammed the gun on the dude next to Mason, and then Mason could do exactly what he did the turn after. But, I don't know. The acting of Woods is incredible, though. Even if it's dumb, it is still pretty awesome. After you escape and steal the chopper, it gets kind of easy for a bit, because the helicopter is really easy. I don't think Treyarch knew how to balance the difficulty for vehicles, because a lot of times the vehicles are really easy on Veteran, because I don't know why. Like in Modern Warfare, I found it a lot harder because it had permanent damage on Veteran, but this is just, it regens health in the helicopter, which is really dumb and makes it easy. All the past 4 missions have felt easy, to be fair, but especially this helicopter one stood out to me. Feels like you're in normal difficulty. You get to see Reznov again in another wacky adventure. This time you see him when you release some American soldiers, and Reznov is there because why not, I guess. When you rush Krushenkov's room, oh, and also I know I've barely spoke about Krushenkov or Stiner, but they're the most one-dimensional characters in this game, and I'll speak about them more in the finale. But Dragovich is the only really good villain, I think, in this game. But anyways, you rush Krushenkov, and he hits you to the floor as you watch Woods fight him. Woods stabs Krushenkov, and then Krushenkov tries to just nade himself and kill Mason and Woods and himself. But Woods jumps out of a window with Krushenkov and kills him. So Mason's alone, but then luckily for Mason, Reznov is here now. And then he basically starts just going rogue. Well, I just finished the last 3 missions and I forgot to record the gameplay. So I'll take the gameplay off of YouTube and just put the link of whatever gameplay I take in the description below. The first of the 3 missions is going to be Rebirth Island, and we get to see Mason and Reznov break into Steiner's facility to kill him, which is super easy and it only takes about 10 minutes to actually do. The combat is mostly stealth, so it's quite easy on Veteran. As Steiner turns around and sees Mason and Reznov, Mason punches him in the face a few times until Reznov walks over to Steiner and says the most iconic line I've ever heard in this game so far.
My name is Victor Reznov.
We then see Hudson state in the interrogation room that Reznov was never there, as we now go in a different perspective of the same mission. This time we're in the boots of Hudson, and the objective was to get Steiner out alive, so we could tell Hudson where the number broadcast is being held at. This mission was pretty difficult, but nothing quite as bad really. It's quite a fun mission. You did have to be quite careful when the Nova 6 drops, because you don't actually regen your health. But it wasn't too bad really. There's not many enemies to deal with, so it's not the worst. Then you start hearing Hudson radio Mason, which you heard from Mason's perspective, so you start to know when you're getting close. When Hudson enters, you see Mason pointing a gun at Steiner. As you break the window, you hear Mason shout the iconic line I mentioned before. As Mason shoots Steiner in the head, he then shoots Weaver and then gets tackled by Hudson. Just before the mission's over, Weaver states how Mason's the only person left that can lead them to the number station now. This mission just sums up Black Ops 1 really. The unique way to say a story is so inventive, and it's really, really fun and satisfying. I love it so much. Reznov's such a good antagonist. I don't even know what he is really, because I don't even know what you'd class Reznov as, because he's not exactly bad, it's just Mason. It's just mental. It's such a good game. I love this mission. Christ, this mission is really powerful. I recommend playing this mission for yourself. It's only around 10 minutes long, and if you haven't played BO1 in a long time like me, then you'll just love this. There's so many things I forgot happened in this game. I didn't remember Mason was programmed to kill JFK. I just forgot that mission had relevance, and it makes it so much more haunting that it did have relevance, really. I didn't remember that Reznov died in Vorkuta and Step A. I don't know why. I thought you lived and died afterwards from Vorkuta. I did realize that this would become relevant.
What you wish, General. It's my gift code in honor of our new relationship. In honor of our new relationship.
I've never seen a game get so many things and make every single thing relevant. It's just the literal most satisfying mission I've ever played. Everything is woven perfectly together. This is one of my favorite missions I've played so far in this game. It's unbelievable. The last mission. With a game as incredible as Black Ops 1, with barely, if not any, bad missions, how can that compare to every other mission in the game? Not very good, if I'm honest. I enjoy Hudson, but the mission as a whole feels super anticlimactic to me. Like, the mission starts out pretty awesomely, as you fly to the Rashalka to stop Dragovich, and you basically just fly around and destroy stuff quite easily, but again, it's kind of cool, it feels like you're Doom, and I love that. But when you jump out, the combat gets hard, as you'd expect, but it doesn't feel rewarding. Like, the mission before this, it felt satisfying and rewarding for the entire time. Like, there's things that I didn't remember, and it's so satisfying. But this mission is just monotonous, killing people that you don't care about. For all that to lead to just killing Dragovich in a cutscene? Like, really? Why not have a fist fight underwater, like a Mortal Kombat style of thing, where it changes location and stuff? That'd be so much better. I don't even care. Just do something where I get to kill Dragovich and not a cutscene. It's so bad. But I need to make it clear, though, this isn't a bad mission. This is a pretty decent mission. But it's a mission with missed potential. And that is almost worse, really, because a mission with missed potential could have been so great. But it just isn't. You have a cool scene where at the end where you swim up from the bottom of the ocean, when you look up to see planes flying around as American flags are just flapping around. And then it really shows that the game now is truly over. Now, overall, is Black Ops 1 truly commendable? Yeah, of course it is, so I wouldn't be. Well. The story of Black Ops 1 could honestly be a Rockstar game, and it really wouldn't faze me. It's just that good. Part of me wishes Black Ops 1 was made by a company that specializes in a campaign game like Rockstar, because Black Ops 1 is probably in the ranks of the best game of all time, campaign-wise. The only other games I can rate above Black Ops 1 is Red Dead 2, Uncharted 2, Doom Eternal, and maybe surprisingly, What Remains of Edith Finch. There are definitely games as good as Black Ops 1, but most of them specialize in campaigns, and not a side mode, and that's really what Black Ops 1 campaign is, a side mode. And it's insane, really. My favorite campaign I've ever played, Red Dead Redemption 2. The story is by far the main mode. Imagine if Black Ops 1 campaign was the main mode. Anyways, this is all the missions ranked from worst to best. 15th is Victor Charlie, 14th is Defector, 13th is Executive Orders, 12th is The Numbers, 11th is Project Nova, 10th is WMD, 9th is Operation 40, 8th is U.S.D., 7th is Redemption, 6th is Payback, 5th is Crash Site, 4th is S.O.G, 3rd is Rebirth, and 2nd is Vorkuta, and finally, the last one is Revelations. This is my opinion, but the first 5 missions are really hard to rank, since there aren't really a bad mission in this game. Bar Victor Charlie, I don't like that mission. Revelations for me is the best mission in the game, and it's a tiny bit above Vorkuta, because it's just so much more satisfying for me. But I can completely see a case of Vorkuta being the best mission in the game. It's incredible. There are negatives of this game, definitely. Even the best games have issues. The enemies are all the same, really. It had some juggernauts in Vorkuta, but I swear to God, after that mission, they just disappear. There are some vehicles and enemies in vehicles too, but there isn't much variety bar that, and it feels a bit stale sometimes. I also think there's too many villains in this game. Black Ops 2 do villains much better from Menendez, from the top of my memory, but like, Black Ops 1 has 3 villains, and not one of them is that intimidating. Dragovich is the one that's probably the most intimidating, and he is the main villain. But then he dies in a cutscene without any effort, and it just feels so anticlimactic. I just don't like that. I do think this is the biggest aspect that let them down. But if they were good, then this game would be better than bloody Red Dead 2 story-wise. And that's really saying something. It's just not exactly a big deal. It's just a what-if scenario, really. My opinion has changed a lot through this game, though. I used to think the most iconic missions were the Vorkuta mission, the Russian roulette mission, and the entirety of the interrogation room. The Vorkuta was just as good as I remember it, really, maybe even better. The Russian roulette was really bad, if I'm honest. Like, it was an average mission. It was good, but it just annoyed me. And the interrogation was incredible still. But there's so many missions like S.O.G and Revelations, which were ridiculously good that I just slept on. My views on characters changed as well. I used to just think Reznov and Woods were the best characters by a mile. But really, it's Hudson's the best character. He's so damn cool. Reznov is still probably my favourite character, but that's just because he's so unique, and the fact that he died in Vorkuta, which I kinda didn't realise until now. And that kinda just is amazing. Everything else that's involved is just in his head, and I love it so much. I recommend to anyone who hasn't played Black Ops 1 ever or a long time to play it. You won't regret it, and it's just incredible. Thanks for watching.